mind or spirit that enables a person to face difficulty, danger, or pain without fear and with bravery. Not about breaking the law, but standing up for what is right. And it's not about yielding to what is wrong, even if it appears that everyone else is doing it. But it's having courage and walking out on what you know and what you believe in your heart is right. Garrett Morgan invented the gas mask. Because of repeated incidents of firefighters being overcome by smoke when attempting to put out fires in his hometown of Cleveland, Garrett Morgan wanted to do something to help. So in 1914, Morgan obtained a patent for his safety hood, a breathing device consisting of a canvas hood placed over the head. A double tube extended from the hood merged into a single tube at the back. The open end held a sponge soaked with water to filter out smoke and to cool incoming air. Shortly after receiving his patent, Morgan had a chance to put his invention to the test. See, in 1916, a tunnel was being constructed under Lake Erie. But one night, there was an explosion in the tunnel. 3 separate rescue parties entered the tunnel and never came out again. In desperation, officials familiar with Morgan and his device summoned him, so he rushed to the scene wearing only pajama bottoms and carrying 4 of his safety hoods. Police and firefighters, having seen their compatriots descend into the smoky hole, never to return, even refused to go back inside. Morgan and his crew and his brother and 2 volunteers, they all went into the tunnel again and again, pulling suffocating workers and rescuers to safety. Morgan even helped save the superintendent of the tunnel project by performing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. The feat gained so much publicity that Morgan, winning him numerous medals and helping him sell his invitation, was made famous to fire departments across the country. And who would ever thought that this man would use this kind of act of courage and even got him a place in history? This guy was also, he received a U.S. patent in 1923 for a traffic signal. And he also, this was an act of courage, and I encourage each one of you to have courage, the courage and the strength that you all have inside of you. Use it, and use it for what is right. And you all are familiar with the Underground Railroad, where it was a network of secret routes and safe houses used by 19th century black slaves in the U.S. to escape the conditions of slavery in Canada and here, with the aid of abolitionists and allies who were sympathetic to the cause. But these routes were purposely indirect to confuse pursuers. But one thing about these routes, it was extremely dangerous, especially for women and children, but they traveled those routes anyway, no matter how dangerous it got. But these routes eventually led them to their freedom. And again, not getting to the rights or wrongs or any of this, but realize here that sometimes each one of you has a route to take in your life. And sometimes the route may be uncomfortable. Sometimes you may not even know the direction in which you're going. However, you travel that route and you stay on track, and it leads you to exactly where you need to be. And I want to encourage each one of you to have that kind of courage to get where you need to be. And don't worry about what other people are saying or trying to fit in or blend in with the crowd, but worry about getting to the end of that tunnel where you need to be and use the inner strength that you have. And not by fitting in, but by raising the bar. Our parents, my brother and our parents raised us not to fit in, but to raise the bar even to exceed further in which they were. And I know it's too far for you guys to look down the road, but I encourage you to raise the bar even better so that throughout generations even further, that the generations after you will be better. By executing your plan of action. I remember just a few months ago, the SWAT team and the legal services unit, the SWAT team, one of my unit, which is the legal services unit of the Houston Police Department, put together a plan, a class rather, for the WET team. And the WET team is basically WET, the Warrant Execution Team. So our goal, our job, was to go in and teach them the legalities, the ins and outs between serving warrants, rather with or serving warrants, or making entry with or without a warrant, while the SWAT team job was getting them to understand how to gain entry into a premises. But no matter what the situation was, they always had a game plan, and the WET team's job is whatever the game plan is, they have to execute that plan. So I'm here to encourage each one of you to have a game plan, and then when it comes down to executing your plan, execute that plan. And you history, and also don't become victims of your own history. If you don't stand up for changing history and instead decide to fit in with the crowd and go after what's wrong, then that's the first way how you become history, and not in a good way, by the way. Lastly, write your story. By your actions at school, by your reputation, you never know, you may have to come back and ask a letter of recommendation from a teacher whose class you acted a fool in, right? But you never know. So you're painting a picture right now in your life. You're writing a story right now. What will your story read? Make your mark in a good way. I had someone who recently called me, and this person called me because he wanted to hire an attorney, or at least get an attorney to look into his matter. And his matter was this. Long time ago, when he was about 20 years old, he committed a crime. But what happened is that now that it's like 15 years later, and a college degree from one of the best universities in the country, now he can't get a job. But not the job he wants anyway, because of the decision that he made a long time ago. See, what I'm saying is that each one of you must make the right decisions, so that that wouldn't happen to you. And even if you do have a history, remember that you still have a bar, and that you could raise that bar and to become better than you used to be, you know, and give yourself a chance. And also come to school and learn. People remember you, and you may need them, like we mentioned, and the ones that's playing in school now, by the way, are the ones who end up, you know, doing nothing, who end up dead. You know, even good students who make bad decisions could end up in a place where you don't want to be. So use the knowledge and skills that you gain here. One thing I remember, my brother and I both, that we had math class together, and we always used to be the ones wondering, well, what are we doing here? I'm never going to see this proof in geometry. I'm never going to use this stuff again. But then I finally figured out, after I got older and mature, that it's not always about the proof that's in front of you, but in learning how to solve that problem, it teaches your brain how to solve problems in the future. So although it may not seem that it matters right now, trust me, schools matter. School matters. Even though in curriculum, they tell you to get the class on time. That matters because you're going to need that later in life, because that could be the difference between whether you get a job or don't get a job. And the rest of your story is unwritten. Pick up a pen and write. Lonnie G. Johnson did. He invented the world-famous water gun, the Super Soaker. His company just came up with a nerve ball toy gun. Jan Ernst Mausleiter invented a shoemaking machine that increased shoemaking speed by 900%. The U.S. in 1992 made a stamp after this guy. Otis Boykin invented the electronic control devices for guided missiles, IBM computers, and the pacemaker, and he invented over 28 different electronic devices, and they didn't know that they'll be listed in history when they were your age. But what would your story read? That's what I want to ask you. Will your story become history? Will you touch the lives of others positively? Seize your opportunities, know that you deserve success, and write your story. Stand tall, stand firm, stand together, know that you can. Although people may tell you you can't, know deep down in your heart, know that you can. No matter where you come from, no matter what your history is, you may not feel like you changed the whole wide world, but at least you can change the world of everyone that's around you. And I want to close with just a verse from Proverbs chapter 22 and verse number 1. It says, a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Notice you could go on, you could do all these sorts of things to try to make a whole lot of money. You know, but the fact is that having a good name is better than that. For example, if you know, long time away from here, you know, you have all the money in the world, all the riches, and then you die. You don't own that money anymore. However, a good name, nobody can take that from you. So therefore, I encourage you to live your life like that. The history is written, and that's why we're here today, to discuss history and your story. But history is written, so I want to encourage all of you to go out and to make history. Thank you.